been hearing about this restaurant in Baltimore and this restaurant owner. He's been doing some big things in the area. Just opened a brand new restaurant in D.C. And I've been sliding his DMs like, I got to interview you, bro. I got to interview you. He's like, let's do it. And I said, well, we got to finally do it. So finally, we are here with Mr. Ashish Alfred from the Alfred Restaurant Group. We're at No Way Rose. Next voice you hear will be him on next NoPixAfterDark podcast.
Is Baltimore's largest makerspace, offering access to tools ranging from 3D printers to welder, and training in how to use them. OpenWorks also offers affordable studio space, a coffee shop, and fun-free events throughout the year. But OpenWorks is more than a public workshop. It's a community of creative professionals, students, seniors, entrepreneurs, and makers of all kinds. Check out the website at www.openworksbmore.org or Instagram at open_works_bmore for class schedules, membership options, and more.
Welcome to the NoPixAfterDark podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Dante. Today, we have a great show today. What's going on, Chef? How you feeling?
How are you? I'm feeling good. How are you?
Tell me about your name and where you from.
My name is Ashish Alfred. I'm originally from D.C. I now live in Baltimore. I'm from duckduckgoose, No Way Rose. You might know we have a location in D.C. that just opened up. I heard you mention it. We have one in Bethesda, one in Fells Point, and we just opened in Fed Hill.
You doing some big things.
Trying to.
Because I was sliding your DMs like, bro, we got to do this.
For a long time
This
now.
has been almost a year.
For a long time now, yeah.
For a year.
It's been like the long slide.
Right. But I always tell people, it's not about what time it is. When it happens, it's always, this is the right time.
Sure. 100%.
I think this is the right time for us to sit down and have a great conversation.
100%.
And I'm excited that you took time out. We're in this lovely restaurant. It is beautiful. I mean,
thank you very much.
I'm looking around the roses and God bless Anthony Bourdain. It's just beautiful. And I'm humbled, happy to be here interviewing you right now.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's talk about you. Give us a little bit of background about you. You say you're from D.C., right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell us a little bit about D.C., growing up in D.C., some of your favorite childhood memories growing up.
So D.C., it's tough to say I'm from D.C. So I'm from Silver Spring originally. It's just a lot easier to tell people D.C., but right on the line. I went to school in Montgomery County, went to high school in Montgomery County, got my first restaurant gig in Montgomery County, right outside of D.C., worked in D.C. nightlife for a little while, then moved away, went to New York City, did culinary school up there, worked in some great restaurants up there, came home, opened my first place, tanked my first place, snorted it and drank it into the ground pretty much. Was able to change my life, got sober by the grace of God and my mother, and opened my first Duck Duck Goose. We're coming up on 8 years now at our first Duck Duck Goose. 7 years at our first Duck Duck Goose. Our Duck Duck Goose Baltimore is coming up on 4 years this year. DC is coming up on 4 months. No Way Rose is coming up on 1 month. So it's been a blessing.
Wow. What was probably one of your favorite childhood memories growing up, though? Like, what was like something that just keeps you, you're like, wow, I remember that. It's a good childhood memory.
Hot Shops.
Okay, what's that?
Hot Shops used to be like, you ever been to Old Country Buffet?
Oh, yeah, you know it.
So it's like a really nice version of Old Country Buffet. They had like cakes and pies and things like that in the window, and it was at Wheaton Plaza. They had one at Wheaton Plaza. They had one in Tacoma Park. And that was a big treat for us. My mom would take us there, and it was like an all-you-can-eat, like a lunch line kind of, but it was really good. You walked in, and the smell of like the pies and the cakes and pies, that will never leave my mind.
Before the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I don't mind going to Sizzler.
Nah.
But, that was like the jam, like Old Country Buffet. Like, so like if you had a big group of family coming in town,
mm-hmm.
Mom and Dad didn't feel like cooking. Mm-hmm. They were like, let's go to Old Country Buffet.
Sure.
You can have everything you want in that spot.
And Old Country Buffet has that cold milk. That like real cold milk.
Kind of like the McDonald's Sprite. That's that's like just like fire.
100%.
I love learning that. I didn't know that about you. So you've been to a lot of places. Where were you trained classically somewhere?
I was classically trained in French food. I went to the French Culinary Institute in Manhattan.
Okay.
I worked in some great French restaurants while I was there. I was at Danielle for a little while. I was at Lupa for a little while after that. Did some internships at some other really, really fantastic restaurants. But yeah, French has always been my background.
Okay. So, like, going through, like, so you moved up to New York, was it right after college or high school, or you were just like, I just want to be a chef? Like, was that, or was there somebody that was like in your life that you were like, I want to be a chef? Like, because that's a wild lifestyle, as you know.
Sure.
How did you get involved in that?
There was no, this is a really unromantic answer, but there was no like huge motivation for cooking. I loved the business. I loved the hospitality business. And because I had this monkey on my back of drugs and whatever else, I was like, well, maybe I'll be safer in the back of house, not knowing what I didn't know. And then, I start to read up on it a little bit, and I'm like, man, everybody back in the back of house is partying too. But they're cooking and they're creating something. So maybe I can be part of that. So I conned my parents into sending me up to culinary school. For me, it was just a ticket to New York City, yeah? And I was like, well, I'll get up there, I'll do it for a little bit. If it doesn't work out, hey, I'm in New York and all is well.
Right.
But I got up there, man, and I'll tell you what, I fell in love with the discipline, with the structure, with the uniforms, with knowing where I had to be, with somebody else telling me what to do. Because up until that point, I was a young man that never really had any structure in my life. Because of, for whatever reasons, right? Like I never really had something to aspire to, something to, like somebody to really guide me. My mother really tried, but it's difficult to, raise a young boy and provide for an entire family.
Right. Wow. I remember when I graduated from college, I was telling my parents, I'm going to move to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got Manhattan bills or you got Manhattan pay? And I was like, nah, I don't have the rent for that.
Yep.
So I lived outside in Jersey, and I was close enough to get to Manhattan.
Sure.
And in Manhattan, I always tell people this, and I don't know if you may agree with this. Everybody always tries to chase Manhattan.
Sure.
You can never catch up with it.
No.
Because you always aspire to be like, I'm in New York, but you're always chasing something in New York.
Yep.
You're never catch up with New York at all.
100%. And, a lot of when I moved up there, my mom had no, she walked me to school, and she would checked out the school, and then she checked out where the apartment was. And she was like, she's looking at the people at the school. She was like, do you know my son? You expect him to be here at 7 o'clock in the morning? There's no way. In a uniform? From 7 to 4 o'clock every day, he's going to walk there? No way. Because at this point, I was a total fuck up.
Right, okay.
Total fuck up.
Okay.
But like I said, I got up there and I kind of fell in love with what was going on. So she was shocked. So initially, she had this 3-month plan where she was like, listen, you're going to be on your own after 3 months. But, my grades start coming back from school. I'm starting to really get involved up there. And I've got a job now. And she's like, all right, I'll seed you for, I'll tell you what, the first year. You figure out your first year in Manhattan. So I get through my first year, and everybody in Manhattan is like, to call yourself a New Yorker, you got to be up here at least 2 years to say you really did New York.
Right.
So I stayed up there for about 2.5, close to 3 years. Really got the whole New York experience, probably more than I should have. Enough so that it got to the point that my mom was like, all right, time to come home.
Wow. What age were you at that point?
I was 25.
You were young.
I was young.
Yeah, because I remember I always tell people when I moved back from Jersey back to Baltimore, they're like, did you save any money? I had nothing in my bank account, man, because I enjoyed it.
Yep.
And that was and I hear I definitely, you're nothing opens until 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Nothing really goes off until 3 or 4 o'clock.
No.
So were you in restaurants, what time did you get out of restaurants up there, at night, when you're working?
Midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Midnight, 1 o'clock, and then, you'd go and you'd have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 drinks.
Right.
And then do whatever you did after you had that many drinks.
Right.
And then, you'd wake up the next morning by, 10, 11.
And do it all over again.
Do it all over again.
Wow.
That was life.
It's different life. So was there any influencers, people that were in New York that was really helped you, guide you? Any teachers or instructors that were very good that you can remember?
For sure. I can still hear some of my culinary instructors in my head. I can still hear some of the sous chefs that I worked under in my head, even when I'm doing things now. I think, my success, if you want to call it that, is due in no small part to the people that I allowed myself to listen to and to emulate and to be like. One experience that I'll never forget in my whole life, I was in culinary school at the time, and we were making a dish. It was a It's like it's aligot, which is just potatoes and cheese that you like whip into submission until it's like this cheesy potato mess that you can pull. Wow. I've had it at my restaurants before, but man, I watched this sous chef make it, and because I was fucking it up royally, and he came in, and when I tell you, this man had the pan in one hand, the whisk in the other, and like he probably weighed 140 pounds, and every ounce of him was in that pan.
Wow.
And I realized that the cooks I wanted to be like, that's what they put into everything they did. If it was a salad, then they're like on top of the salad, like every little thing is going where it's supposed to go, and they're dressing it just so. And that people like that were my inspiration. People that were totally dedicated to that craft.
Wow, yeah, because I always ask like chefs, people and entrepreneurs, like any mentors coming along the way, and so when you left New York, you came back down here, and did you open anything up down here?
I did.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that. What did you open? What was your first restaurant?
So I came back down in 2012.
Okay.
And now I've got this culinary degree in my hand.
All right.
So now I
can't
think
tell you anything.
Can't tell me nothing.
That's like that Kanye.
Can't tell me nothing.
Kanye song.
And I'm eating in the different restaurants around there, and I'm like, man, this isn't nothing. This is nothing. This is nothing. This is nothing.
Right.
Hold my beer. I got this.
Right.
So my very doting mother, she helped me. She seated me in my first restaurant. But the addiction I hadn't overcome the addiction at that point.
Gotcha.
So the restaurant really, it brought out a lot of my insecurity, where I thought that it would quell that, because I was like, oh, well, I'll feel better because now I can do this thing called cooking. But just because I could cook didn't mean I could run a business. Just because I could cook didn't mean I was a chef. And I was so trapped in my own ego that I didn't want to hear anything from anybody else. So I was failing royally. I didn't even know what I didn't know. I still don't even know what I don't know. And sometimes I look back on the lessons that I learned, and that was the most expensive PhD that anybody's ever had in their entire life. And it got pretty bad. I almost died a couple times. The second time was the kicker. And my mother stepped in, and she was just like, listen, I'm not your mom, you're not my son. I can't do this anymore. My entire staff had staff and the community of people that I had grown up around before I went to New York City. They had kind of everybody had given up on me. I had given up on myself, and I was like, all right, let's do something different. So made some life changes, and opened my first Duck Duck Goose with $50,000 in a prayer. And life's been a blessing ever since.
Folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Getting the real Baltimore story here. Be right back.
The NoPixAfterDark podcast is fueled by Zeke's Coffee. Have you tried their coffee yet? I'm telling you, there's something different about it. Maybe it's because they roast their beans in a fluid coffee roaster, which provides the most accurate roasting temperatures and made with love. You will just have to check it out for yourself and try their delicious food while you're at it. Open now for curbside service, online ordering, carry out, and they also do wholesale. Visit Zeke's Coffee at 4719 Hartford Road. Open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 8 to 5 p.m. Kitchen closes at 3 p.m. or visit Zeke'sCoffee.com and you too can be fueled by Zeke's. The NoPixAfterDark podcast is proudly partnered with Maggie's Farm. Located at 4341 Hartford Road, Maggie's Farm offers a unique dining experience with delicious handcrafted cocktails and mouth-watering cuisine, from falafels to scallops and everyone's favorites, honey sriracha cauliflower wings. Open for dinner from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday, and for brunch, Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. with delectable chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits, biscuits and gravy, and more. Check out Maggie's Farm on Instagram and Facebook for daily and weekly food specials.
We are back at No Way Rose with Chef Al. Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is great. This is the vibe right here, man. I mean, I feel like I'm in just relaxed and beautiful, and it's not even cold outside. It feels warm in here.
It's getting nice. It's getting nice.
So, okay, we went through the personal stuff. Let's get into the restaurants.
Yeah.
Duck Duck Goose. Where does this name come from? I mean, I know Duck Duck Goose when I'm going around with the nursery thing, but is that where it came from?
You know, I got to come up with a story, because the true story is not that exciting. I was writing the menu, right?
Okay.
While it was still an idea. I was writing the menu, and I had duck on the menu. I had duck on the menu again, and then I had some iteration of goose. So I was like, man, Duck Duck Goose. It's like, that's a dumb name. That's so dumb. And then I called an ex-girlfriend of mine, who's one of the smartest people that I know. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, what do you think of this? And she was like, stop talking. Call your lawyer. That needs to be the name of your restaurant. And we opened as Duck Duck Goose.
And where was the first one located?
The first one was located in Bethesda.
Okay. So when you went and got that first restaurant, where was, like, as far as your mom and your former coworkers, were they all like, all right, we're going to see what he can do? Or were you kind of like, you know,
No, there was a lot of trepidation. Everybody was like, you know, this kid just fucked this up pretty royally,
right,
in one place, you know. And at that point, you know, there was no faith. But the flip side of that coin was, you know, the space is only 1,000 square feet, which is probably just a little bit bigger than your bedroom.
Right.
So, you know, how bad could he possibly fuck it up?
Right.
But what was different was me. I stopped trying to do things that I wasn't capable of. I made the business about the clients. I made it about the people working in the building. It wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't like I didn't need to, like, you know, sorry to say it, but I didn't need to, like, flex every time that I came up with something. I didn't need to, you know, try to show off every time I came up with something. For me, it was about creating an experience that was sustainable, both for the clients that walked in the door and for the people that were coming in to serve those clients. Whether it was the cooks or the servers, that's what it became about for me. And I truly believe that if, you know, you take care of the people on your left and your right, everything else just kind of works out.
Facts. That's true. So successful out in there.
Yeah.
And then where did Baltimore come in this whole equation?
I love Baltimore. You know?
Okay, because like I know my DC friends are gonna be mad when I say this, but I think Baltimore's food scene is on a different, like, it's coming there. It's like on that level where it's getting close.
It's on its way.
Getting close.
It's on
you
its
know,
way.
I give DC brunch. I give DC their brunch. Their brunch is bar none probably the craziest thing I've ever been a part of. But Baltimore's food scene is coming up, and I really believe in it. What made you? I know you say you love Baltimore. But what really appealed you to Baltimore to come here?
You know, it's funny. When I went to open my second location, I started talking to people that I, you know, was looking at as potential investors or partners or whatever, and I told them I wanted to come to Baltimore. Like, no, go to DC. Go to DC. Go to DC. We'll bankroll you. Go to DC. We'll bankroll you. Don't go to Baltimore. I was like, no.
Right.
I'm going to come to Baltimore. You know, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I used to work in Baltimore. I worked at the Ritz Cabaret.
Okay, I know the Ritz Cabaret.
Yep.
On Broadway?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know that.
So I knew what it was like to work in the service industry in Baltimore. I knew what the Baltimore clientele was like. I also knew that Baltimore was a blue-collar town, and I know that not only is it a blue-collar town, it's a very well-educated town. You know, we got a lot of great schools here, and you know, I don't say that as somebody that runs a college bar. I say that as somebody that runs a fine dining restaurant. And I think Baltimore was getting a bad rap for a while. So started looking around, and then I found this space that the Admiral fell in. Cobblestone streets, at one of the most historic corners in Baltimore, right across the street from the Pendry. You know, who would not want to put a restaurant there? It was just this beautiful little corner space that took me back to some of those corner spaces. You know, you look at West 4th Street in the West Village in Manhattan, anywhere in Greenwich Village, it just kind of harkened back to that. And I was like, man, this is where I got to be.
I love that. So, you know, you open it up in Baltimore. You know, it's a whole different scene. It's a whole different scene.
There was a lot of hate too when I opened.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, how did you overcome that? Because you're saying 4 years coming up now. Mm-hmm. That's a long time. For a restaurant business.
For the restaurant business, it is a long time. You know, I was building the space out, and there were two kinds of people that would stop by when we were building out. One, the kind that said, we can't wait for you to open, and here's a bag of donuts, and here's some coffee, and thank you so much for coming to Fells Point. And there was the other people that would say, this isn't going to work. This is Fells. You got to serve beer. You got to serve shots. You got to have wings. You got to this, that, and the third. And, you know, I chose to only pay attention to the one kind. I chose to pay attention to the positive feedback that I was getting. And, you know, I knew that Baltimore was ready for it, you know, and Duck Duck Goose is as much about the experience as it is about the food, right? And you go in there and we make you feel welcome and we make you feel loved and we go out of our way to take really good care of you like we would our own family. I mean, how does that go wrong anywhere?
Yeah, I remember when you guys opened, I remember this, and I was like, there's a French cuisine coming in Fells. And I was like, we need this.
Mm-hmm.
We need to step up the food in the area. We don't, I'm sorry, like, I mean, I love a good burger like anybody else.
Sure.
I like a good beer, I like a pint of beer.
Yep.
But you have a Max's across the street.
Sure.
You have those places. Why can't you have a place that I like getting dressed up going to?
Sure.
I'm getting older. I want to
Yeah.
go and dress up a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
that's just my style.
Yep.
With the French cuisine, how many other restaurants were French cuisine in the area at that time?
In the area,
I want to say not a lot.
no, not in that neighborhood.
No, you were like one of the first ones. I mean, was it Ambrosia or something like that? I don't know. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was come and goes, but
I'm not sure.
I don't think you were the only one.
I mean, there was Thames Street Oyster House, right? And they do
Yeah.
a great job. They're not French food, but they do
Right.
an amazing job. And I remember how packed they were. You could never get a table.
Still can't.
You know, I moved to Baltimore before I opened my first restaurant because I was like, man, I want to live here and like really like get my finger on the pulse and feel what it's like to be a Baltimorean. And when I realized that Thames Street was so good and their style of service was so good and they were really being so deliberate about what they were putting on the plate, I was like, yeah, Duck Duck can do well here.
Yeah, I mean, that people want good service.
They do.
And that's
They
what
do.
it boils down to for that. So then you're like, all right, we're rolling. So actually, give us a popular dish that's one of the top 2 dishes at Duck Duck.
It's got to be the burger, the Duck Duck burger. And it's it's the dumbest thing, you know. We've got stuff in there that like we pickle it for 2 days. We hang the duck for 3 days to dry it out and get it extra crispy and stuff that takes like so much technical effort. And then we got this burger, which
With
is
the foie-
technical
the foie gras
with
on
the
it.
foie gras on it. Yep.
Okay, huh?
Burger with the foie, the blueberry jam, the brioche bun, and man, people fell in love with that thing.
I just saw actually on an influencers thing last night.
Sam Stern.
Yep. I saw it, and it was like, it's funny I'm coming here today, but I thought about it, and I was like, I just want a burger.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just want a burger, but like you want really good fine dining.
Yep.
So that's interesting, the burgers.
The burger tops out. If I take that thing off, they will burn that restaurant down.
So now we're going to transition a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You were opening up another one, so you're at the point take us to the process of opening one in DC, the next one, and then opening No Way Rose, and we got a pandemic.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind is going to open a spot in the pandemic where you can't have, think about it, a lot of restaurant owners are like, we got to change the way we think now. Do we do open air? Do we do closed? Because we didn't know what's going on. But you were like, to get these spots, it had to have been like a year out or whatever, probably to get them, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of them happen faster than others.
Okay.
I think that commercial landlords, a lot of them realized that the landscape was going to change. Right. And a lot of guys were going out of business because of the pandemic, sadly. I had to close one of my places. I closed George's Chop House because of the pandemic. So, but a lot of landlords, where we were typically priced out of the market in DC and in other places, that market was changing. And you had these second-gen spaces that weren't requiring a huge upfront investment to start a new restaurant. And, we have a well-recognized brand in Duck Duck Goose. People know that, we come in, we work hard, we create something for the community there. So we became attractive to some of these landlords that were looking for somebody to put in. So we found a couple of good deals. But, I'll say again, it was this past year and a half, building these 2 places. It's been one of the most challenging times of my life.
Did you doubt yourself during with the pandemic and how things were shutting down?
I doubt myself every day.
But I mean, as far as literally, I didn't think that we would be sitting in a big restaurant like this again. I really didn't think so. I thought people might change the way they do, but
No, I wasn't worried about that. And I
Okay.
said it pretty publicly. I mean, what the fuck was I going to do? Start cooking at home 7 days a week? I mean, there's only so many meals that you're going to eat out of a to-go box.
Right.
I think that there was a lot of people that said, oh, the restaurant business is dead. The restaurant industry is over. How? That didn't make sense to me.
Right.
I think it definitely did kind of put under a microscope the way that restaurants operate. I think it made people a little bit more aware of how restaurants operate and the fine margins in which restaurants operate, right? And I think people became a little bit more sensitive to how difficult it is to operate a restaurant, but I was never under the impression that restaurants were going anywhere.
Okay.
You know, like I said 2 seconds ago, you know, what was the expectation? Where are you going to start having your birthday party? Where are you going to do your retirement party?
Gotcha.
Where are you going to go? Where are you going to propose to your girlfriend? Where are you going to, you know, whatever. Restaurants will always have a place.
I love it. I love you drop some jewels and gems here. You're right. You hitting the head. So, No Way Rose, where does that name come from? What's the thought behind, process behind it? How'd you find this name?
So, back in my drinking days,
Okay.
there was No Way Jose
Yeah, No Way Jose, yeah.
on the other side of the market.
That was my spot.
They were kind enough to show me the door once or twice.
That was my spot back in the day. Yeah, yeah.
It was a good time.
Watering hole, really.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to put something in the neighborhood that seemed familiar, but different. Obviously, I wanted to stick with my background, which is French food. So we said, why not No Way Rose?
Okay. Do you like rosé?
Huh?
You love rosé?
I don't drink anymore, but,
yeah.
but when I did, yes, absolutely.
Okay. So we're in this beautiful restaurant, and you just opened not like less than 4 months ago, right? How about less than a month?
Here?
Yeah, about a
it's
month?
been about a month.
About a month.
Just about a month.
How has it been the feedback from the community?
It's been fantastic. You know, I think that those that have been a little bit patient with us and understand that, you know, we're opening a new restaurant when it's really hard to find staff and it's really expensive to get straws, let alone food. You know, there's been a huge number of people that have come out and shown great support. You know, we love seeing it online when people say, you know, great new restaurant. We love when people come in and say, oh, we love what you've done with the space. You know, this is not a one-man band. You know, there's 25 people that come to work here every day that drink the same Kool-Aid I drink, and they worked really hard to get this space beautiful, and they worked really hard to make things work the way they do here. So, no, the feedback has been great.
You get my vote of approval off the top.
Thank you.
Because I'm gonna keep it real. I probably never told you the story. So I came in here. I had a live show that night. We did like a pre-opening, and I had a hoodie on, and I was like, I have no more gear to come on. But then a group of people came down here, like, Aaron, come on down.
Yeah.
The pre-opening, and I always remember, like, I got to the front door, and the guy was like, "Is your name on the list?" I'm like, "Nah, but I know the people in here." And I got my hoodie on. Guy was like, "Come on in."
Yeah.
And to me, I was already ready for the fight. But for your staff, just to give you a shout out, it was like, "Hey, we understand."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "I'm with this group." It was no problem. Now, on the average day, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But what I was saying, it was just a really customer service.
Yep.
And that really meant a lot to me.
Yep.
Now, I remember you came over and said, "Hey, what do you want? What are you drinking?" I said, "Appreciate it." But just your staff.
Yep.
Was so warm and receptive. I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, we talk about a lot. You know, one of the first things that we talk about in any training that we do in any of the restaurants, there's service and there's hospitality.
Right.
Service is what you do. Hospitality is the way that you make someone feel. You can fuck this up. You can fuck up service, right? You can fuck up the food too a little bit. Mm-hmm. You can't fuck up hospitality because you can't. The way you make somebody feel is the most important thing in the world, and it starts with people that come in and work with us. And you know, no, we don't have a dress code. So they wouldn't have told you no matter what you were wearing. There's some places that do have dress codes. We just don't. I mean, I've got my own soapbox about that, but yeah.
All right. Well, so since we're going to dress codes, since we're in that frame, we're gonna slide to a little cool spot there. So a big thing that comes up a lot of restaurants. People come to restaurants. There's a party 8. We talked about this offline. Mm-hmm. Party of 6. 4 people show up. 3 people show up. Mm-hmm. They want to sit down.
Yeah.
Restaurant says, no, everybody has to be here.
Yeah.
Take us behind that. Take us behind the thoughts of why we can't sit down when we have 6 and there's 3 here, or 8 and then we got 4 of us here. That's 50%, right?
You're not gonna like my answer.
Hey, we be honest. We're being honest. We're being honest here.
These tables, they're not the furniture in your house.
Okay.
These tables pay for the manager. They pay for the hostesses. They pay for the salaries of the kitchen in the back. They pay for the rent, the lights, the water. So these are not just regular pieces of furniture. These tables that are around us, these are all cash registers. So I need to be able to use this table a certain number of times in a night. So I'm very happy to seat that party of 8. However, when 4 of y'all show up at 8 o'clock, because you were on time for the reservation, and then 4 other people show up at 9 o'clock, Now that table that was supposed to take me an hour and a half to turn, I'm looking at 3 hours on that table. So now I'm late for my next reservation, and also I'm losing money on the table. Especially in today's day, where margins are finer than they have ever been. You know, good restaurants operate on a profit margin of between 8 and 12%. 8 and 12% is not a lot of money.
No.
So it's not somebody just being an asshole when they tell you, hey, we need the whole party to be here. The way the restaurant seats people is formulaic. Everything's about math. Everything's about the numbers. The portrait of Bourdain on the wall, the pink booths, the Eiffel Tower trusses. All that shit doesn't matter if nobody's making money. Because if nobody's making money, nobody's paying the rent.
No, but but people sometimes don't understand the answer.
People don't understand that
and
answer.
I'm glad we're explaining it.
You know, people don't understand that answer. And you know, when you make a reservation in a restaurant, in all of my restaurants, we do offer a little grace period there because I understand things happen. It's hard to park in the city. I get all that. But you've entered into a contract with that restaurant. That restaurant is depending on you the same way you're depending on that restaurant to have the food on the menu, to give you good service, to have clean glasses on the table, to have fresh flowers, to have good music, to have the lights be just right. The same way you're depending on that restaurant to give you the night that you had gone out for, that restaurant is depending on you to stick by that contract that you made with the restaurant.
Got you. Now, does your restaurant automatically put gratuity tip on things, or how does it work with you guys?
For parties of 6 or more, we will.
Okay.
Anything less than that, we leave it to the client's discretion.
Okay. And is that set up front when you get here?
It's printed on the menu.
Okay. Okay.
So 6 or more, we will auto-grat the table. Under 6, we will leave it to the client.
Gotcha. Is there a way they should be people should be tipping, or how do you feel about, like, is it 20%? Is it 15%? I mean, how does it break down? Just some of your thoughts. It's just a thought. We're having a conversation.
I mean, I always tip, as an industry person, I always tip at least 20%.
Okay.
I think there's a special place in hell for people that don't tip.
Do people still do that?
Oh, yeah. All the time. All the time. And,
Wow.
you know...
Did people realize that that's how people live and survive?
Yes. And, you know, it's the same people that don't tip. Well, I got to be really careful how I say this. It's when people don't tip, it's I would love to have a restaurant where my servers did not rely on tipping.
Gotcha.
I would love to build that kind of a business. But I'm not somebody yet in my career that you're going to be willing to pay $50 for a piece of chicken to.
Right.
So it's all relative, right? It's right now, because my clients are only willing to pay a certain amount for food and drinks, my staff is relying on those tips.
Right.
And the reasons for which people don't tip just boggle my mind. People say, well, I didn't tip because the food took too long. How's that your fucking server's fault? He rang it in.
Right.
Maybe they're backed up a little bit. You know, sometimes if there's like total negligence on the part of the server, they forgot about you, they were rude to you, cool, don't tip. But that's a very small percentage of the time.
Right.
You know, and this kind of culture of like being angry at restaurants when you walk in. You know, people come in expecting the restaurant to fuck up. Like, oh, they're going to mess this up. They're going to mess that up. And, you know, you've come in and you're already at a loss. Stay the fuck home.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I always tell people, you know, why are you so hard on restaurants, but you go to McDonald's every week? You still go to Starbucks and they mess your name up. You still go back. You still go.
Yep.
So, like, why would you?
I'll have people leave reviews. And I purposely don't respond to any of these reviews because I just don't. I don't care enough to respond. You know, we do take them all constructively, and we do use them. The ones that are constructive, we use them constructively. But I literally had somebody give me a review saying, we had a 7 o'clock reservation. The restaurant was 20 minutes late seating us. They gave us free champagne to hold us over while we were waiting. The meal was great. The service was great. However, they should have just comped our bill. Why?
You gave them a bottle of champagne.
We bought them champagne. We
Right.
said, hey, we're really sorry about the wait. The restaurant's busy. It was a Friday night. Like, I don't get it. And if you were that upset about the fact we were late, why the fuck did you sit down and eat dinner and tell me the service was good? If you didn't like it at all, if you were that upset, go somewhere else.
Right.
You know? Right. So I
get it.
I don't, you know, it's tough, you know, and especially in my businesses, we really go out of our way. If we mess it up, we will go out of our way. Not only am I buying that experience for you, I'm buying your next experience too.
Right.
It would be one thing if we took a very stark or a staunch position where we were like, you know what, you didn't like it, it's your problem. it's not your problem. You didn't like it, it's our problem. Because we either didn't describe it right on the menu, or your server didn't describe it right, or we made it wrong, or whatever. So if you didn't enjoy it, we take ownership of that, and we're going to take care of that for you. And we're also going to make sure that the next time you come in, it's on our dime. Nice. So knowing that we go through those steps, when people still come in and they're determined to be unhappy, yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, especially because people have no idea the amount of the work and effort and thought that goes in. And also people have no idea how expensive it is. I'm not crying poor by any means, don't get me wrong, but it's a Herculean task to get people in here, for your table to be lined up, to have the, the light on it, the clean glasses on it, the clean silverware, the little raw bar card, the pink pencil that matches the decor, to be getting, ice in your water, to be getting your drink made just the right way, the same time, 150 times a night. It's a lot. So we enjoy it though.
No, it's all good. Hey, listen, man, we keeping it real. That's what it is. Now, what's the difference between No Way Rose and Duck Duck Goose? What's the big difference in food-wise? Can I get the same thing in the same places, or is there a little variation of it?
There is a little bit of variation.
Okay, what variation?
I'd say the biggest differences are one in service.
Okay.
This is a little bit more casual in the style that we serve people here. We don't take reservations in this restaurant. We do at Duck Duck Goose. Okay. This is more of like a cafe culture where like the plates are a little bit smaller. Things kind of come out as they're ready. Duck Duck Goose, you could go and have a more like course meal, so appetizer, entree, dessert. Here, we kind of just send things out to you as they're ready. We have a great raw bar here, which we don't have at Duck Duck Goose. But this is more like a cafe. Duck Duck Goose is more fine dining restaurant.
So I saw these cool videos online. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little about this brunch party, boy, because it looked like it's lit up in here. I'm literally sitting at home twiddling my thumbs like, I need to be down there. I need to be down there popping bottles. That's how I feel like. But tell us the brunch culture, because I feel like you brought that good brunch culture here.
Yeah.
I love it. I see it, and I'm like, tell us a little bit. What were some of your thoughts when you were creating this?
I found in Baltimore there a lot of people go out for brunch. Brunch is a big deal here. You have people in town visiting for the weekend, whatever. And although there's a lot of good places for brunch where the food is good, I couldn't find anywhere where there was a real experience. And if it was, everybody was doing kind of the same, drag brunch sort of thing. And nothing wrong with that, but everybody was doing it.
Right.
So I was like, man, what if we did something that was really fun, super entertaining for people, make the food good, make the music good, give them a show all at once. And that's what we did. So here I've got a little carnival show. I've got jugglers, I've got people on stilts, I've got contortionists, I've got a DJ. We've got great food. We serve from 10 to 3 in the afternoon. It's a good party vibe.
Is there a bottomless mimosas and bloodies here, or you don't do that here?
No, we don't do that.
Okay,
here.
Okay. All right.
We don't do that here just because, that bottomless thing gets messy kind of quick.
It gets a little
messy.
Real messy. So what would you say, since you've been here for a month, what do people like? You see a lot of people, get a lot of orders in here. What's one of the top 2-3 things that you've been seeing a lot of? Because I saw this flight that you had with different things on it. It was like a tier. It was like a statue of food or something like that. I don't know what you had, but it looked good, man.
I can't remember. What was it? We do a really great smoked salmon tower here.
Yeah, the tower. That's
probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, man.
Do a great smoked salmon tower here. We do. What else do we do that's really good here? We do the blue crab omelet. We make a soft omelet. We roll crab meat and a little bit of black truffle cheese sauce in it. We do a black truffle agnolotti that I had in Paris the last 2 times I was there, and I ate it more times than I care to admit over the 5 days that I was there.
Okay.
And I decided I had to recreate that in my restaurant.
So what is it? Tell us.
So it's these little handmade agnolotti, which are like raviolis, but they're just a little bit smaller. We fill it with this black truffle and ricotta filling. We make a sauce out of butter and black truffle. We finish it with a few drops of lemon juice, a little bit of olive oil. We send it out to you, and it's just this black truffle, Parmesan, ricotta cheese bomb in your mouth.
Oh, wow.
It's just great. Tons of flavor.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now you got me hungry over here. Now I'm sitting here what can I order next? And what days are you guys open a week? What's your hours for the week?
So we're open right now. We're open Wednesday through Sunday for dinner, starting at 4 o'clock. And then we're open brunch Saturday and Sunday starting at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Are you here a lot? Because I know you got several restaurants.
I'm
which
here a
ones
lot
are
right
you?
now.
Do you stay? Do you go to each one all weekend, or is there one you prefer hanging out at mostly?
It's by the age of the restaurant. So the youngest baby gets the most attention.
Right. Because you got people established at other places.
Correct.
Okay. So do you ever get back behind? You get the knives to sharpen up and?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay.
I still cook.
You know, sometimes some
People
chefs,
ask me that a lot. People are like, do you still cook? Do you still cook? Yeah, I still cook. I have to cook, because the minute I stop cooking or the minute I get rusty on that line, the guys that are working there, they start wondering who they're working for.
Right. So then we're gonna do speed round. I always ask people this.
All right.
All the time. Okay. Paris or Barcelona?
Paris.
Why is that?
I speak a little French. I cook French food in Paris. There's something new to find every single day. And a lot of people don't know this, but from Paris, you can get to a lot of places in Europe in like 3 or 4 hours.
Okay. Crabs or crab cakes?
Crab cakes. I'm lazy.
You don't want to get your hands dirty.
No,
huh?
it's not that I don't want to get my hands dirty, but I do a lot of this at work, so I don't want to do a lot of this in my time off.
Got you. Summer or winter for you?
Summer for sure.
Drums or flats for wings?
Flats.
Blue cheese or ranch?
Ranch.
Ranch?
Ranch. Gotta be ranch.
Is it homemade ranch or is like you make the ranch or
You don't need a homemade ranch. Kraft does just fine. Kraft, Hidden Valley, they're just fine. You don't need a homemaker ranch.
And what's the best advice you've ever received?
Stay humble. Stay humble. Above all else, stay humble. You never know. No matter how good you are at something, you don't even know what you don't know.
If you could look at your younger self, what would you say now?
Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Just like you don't know what you don't know. Shut up and stay out of your own way. And, I think, if I would have just shut my mouth a lot of times and listened to those around me and assumed the best of those around me rather than assume the worst of those around me, I don't take 1 ounce of my life back today, but I'm grateful for everything that I did. But, my younger self, yes, I would have told him to shut the fuck up.
Where can we find you on social media, IG, TikTok, all that wild stuff?
IG is at ChefAshishAlfred. TikTok is at ChefAshishAlfred. There's a YouTube channel with a couple followers on it. ChefAshishAlfred.
What about the restaurants and whatnot?
This is No Way Rose Baltimore on IG. All the Duck Ducks have separate ones. There's DDG Bethesda, there's DDG Baltimore, and there's DuckDuckGoosedc.
Anything else? What do you want people to walk away from this interview when I broadcast it? What do you want people to walk away from it and think?
I think that more than the cooking and more than like the building of these restaurants, I spend most of my time working with a team of really amazing people. And most of my time is invested in the people around me. Because if you don't have a good team, you got nothing. So if people, the big takeaway here is, behind any great success is usually a team of really hardworking people, and that is my story.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're done. Wrapping up. I appreciate you, Chef, for your time.
Thank you so much.
This is a beautiful restaurant. Love, peace. We're out.
How we do?
It was amazing.
Yeah?
It was fire.